Dear Moose, and welcome to another one. I know I just had one yesterday. We just had one yesterday, but uh, this lovely lady right across got back to me about what was it, a few days ago. I didn't think she would get back to me at all. Some people don't, and sort of like, well, I tried, right? But I threw my hat into the ring, and Miss Jen or Jennifer had responded, and oops, sorry, and uh, and so here we are, and we'll get to have a conversation. And so, how are you, Miss Jen? Or well, we'll go with Jen. If I say Jennifer, it's gonna be like, it's gonna be two different things I have to flip
Jen
back and forth.
works.
Jen works, okay. How are you, Miss Jen?
Um, I'm well, thanks. How about you?
Well, I'm trying. I really am. That's all
That's
life
all
is.
we can do.
Yeah, that's all life is you're trying after a while. Um, but that's okay as long as we try. Um, because shit, if you don't try, it's not gonna be pretty. I know that for a fact because as an adult, you either try or it just gets worse. So, um, but yeah, now I, you reside in the U.S., right? I'm not gonna ask you for any details,
Yes,
but okay. Is it snowy where you're at?
yes.
Oh goodness, I just got done. We just got done with sub-zero temperatures where I'm at, and I just like
Did you at least get snow with it though?
no, because the first part of it is like what was it? Monday was like -10. I was like, no, no, you don't get to do that. That's not right at all. But it's gonna get warmer, hopefully.
In my
So
opinion, there is no excuse for it to be that cold and there not to be snow. If it's going to be that cold, there at least has to be snow.
I'm not. I was as a child, I enjoyed snow, but as an adult, I'm like, no more
I
snow.
still love it. I still
Okay.
love it.
Yeah, that's all right. My mom still loves it too, but I can't. I can't anymore. There's no for me. It's like snowball fights, and then that's it. And I'm like, oh, this ice. Because
Building
there's
igloos.
oh, look, there was one year I was uh I was coming back in the house to start up my car to drive, and I slipped, and I did not feel I
Ooh,
yeah it was bad.
yeah,
So I didn't have to go to the hospital or anything, but it's just like
that's
ugh.
good.
I was even running. I was just like I don't like this. But anyway, uh, but yeah, weather can be, but it's gonna get warmer. It's like 20 something degrees, so I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful. Oh goodness, but yes, I really do appreciate you coming on. I know it's kind of a nerve-wracking thing, especially if you've never been on one before. Like you're just like, what do I do from here? What's going on? All these people looking at me. I don't have that many people. Let's to be
Well,
honest.
also everybody has their own way of doing things, so it's just getting used to everybody doing everything differently and creating new chemistry with people
Mhm.
and all that.
Oh yeah, no, no, yeah. I don't even know what I was gonna say with that. I can't find. Sometimes you try to find the word. It's on your tip of your tongue, and you're just like,
Only a
um,
lot.
yeah. Oh, no joke. No, and that's understandable too because, like I was saying earlier, when I first started out doing this, I was just like my icon. I just had like the just the praying mantis, which is an actual photo by the way. It was actually an old vehicle I had, and it was early, not early morning, but it was morning, and it was sun, was it sundew in the car, and it was just right there, and I was like, you know what, this is a good picture to take, and I took it, and that's probably been 5 or 6 years ago since I've had that, so
Oh wow.
yeah, and I've kept that, and I kind of said, you know what, I'll use that as an icon because it's a true picture, because there's all this for content creators, there's stuff about copyright, and you get in trouble for it, and it's very difficult. So it's just like you make your own stuff and just try to stay away from that. So, um, but yeah, it's oh, I did lose my train of thought. Oh man, I don't know. I understand why it's a little nerve wracking to do this sort of thing because it kind of put yourself out there. Um, oh yeah, that's right. I started out with not showing my face, and then showing my hands, and then showing my face, sort of showing my face. You've already seen me without my sunglasses, so you know. Um, but it's not easy. It's very terrifying when you put yourself out there because you're worried about what these people going to think, what are they going to say, be more mean than nice, whatever. And I really haven't had that. I'm knock on wood,
Well, it's
obviously.
well, we're also in environments, unfortunately, that's very, very politically charged, and there's unfortunately a lot of extremists out there who, you know, from both ends of the spectrum that don't want people to get the truth out there and to speak and to try and, make a difference and all that kind of stuff. So there's also, that aspect of things as well.
Yeah, I know that's very understandable too because the gentleman I was talking to yesterday kind of came on an epiphany of things for at least a thought, and that from and of course for what you're saying too is yeah there are people who um, truth whatever that may be for some people, um, they don't want it said or want it known, and they're always and there's always going to be an opposition, right? Like where there's light there's dark, where there's cold there's hot, there's always those opposite things. But yeah, on a political scale, now I personally am not political by any nature. I really just don't care. I mean, I don't care. I not the really part. I don't care because it's for me. It doesn't really serve much of a purpose. It's really more of it's really more of like this is the rugby team, that's the football team, and you're gonna pick which sport you're gonna play. It really serves no purpose at a certain point because there is no purpose it can serve. I know why it was created. I know why there are voting and stuff, but at the end of the day, you're gonna have a form of corruption in one form or another, um, and this like I've personally stated to myself like this would be the last year I'll ever vote because I keep seeing people online who want to talk about changing things, yet the only thing they can do is just talk online, right? They just, oh, I wish the government was better or this was better, my local, whatever, and yet what do they do about it? Oh, they just vote. Okay, and what?
But I think, but I think we're also, shifting into a climate where a lot more people are getting, very active in things at this point. And, while while on a micro scale, it may not seem like we can do much. I
Mm,
think there that multiple micro scales can create a macro that is insurmountable. And I
right.
think that's, and that's a huge aspect of why I started coming forward was because it was to try and expose some of the corruption and to try and get, accountability for it. Because if we can get accountability for it, and if we can get transparency, then
Mm.
we'll be able to get rid of a lot of this corruption. And then, things will be easier. And then maybe people will want to be involved in politics because they won't have to worry about, a lot of the corruption.
Yeah, my issue is that it's human beings either end. Like we we vote for human beings into a position of power. We technically give up power to for someone to have a position of power because that's how that system works. Unfortunately, human beings have this thing called uh, uh, I don't know what to call it. The human beings have this ability to be corroded in a sense, and I find that it's highly understandable to some degree, but my issue is that you can loud the ringers, right? You can ring the bells, but at the end of the day, it just comes right back around another form or another. So it's not really gone in that sense. I mean, that's from my perspective. Totally different perspective from your end, but for me, I just see it as you can complain about it all you want. You can say, well, it's time to change this, but until you actually get in the boat, start rowing to get to the other side, you're not really changing anything. It's all just words, and that's what we all
Right.
do all day. Yeah, that's what we do all day.
And don't get me wrong, there are a lot of people that are just words.
Mm,
But right now, I think that we are in a climate where a lot more people are actually doing something about it at this point, which, is a big reason. I mean, for example,
Mhm.
You know, the Jeffrey Epstein documents, that
Mhm.
would not have come out, Jeffrey Epstein's arrest, that
Mhm.
would not have come out had the people not gotten loud and demanded it. Ghislaine
Mhm.
Maxwell, Harvey Weinstein,
Mhm.
you know, these people wouldn't have been held accountable to any degree if, you know, if we didn't have the massive uproar that we did end up getting.
Yeah, I know, and that's very understandable too because, well, obviously because it is kind of a politicized, I think is the better word. Uh,
Unfortunately.
yeah, but the issue of it's like I think the best comparison would be to what the Sound of Freedom movie tried to do. And, I mean, there still is a group, Hours. Oh, no, what was it again? Yeah, Hours. Yeah, that's the name of the program. Um, but the thing of it is that after a certain point, people go back to their normal lives and they kind of forget about it, which is a normal faction of like, I gotta go get up in the morning, I gotta work, I got kids, I gotta pay bills, I gotta take them to
And
school.
that's why, and that's why it's up to us to keep bringing it up and to get them to keep demanding it.
Yeah, no,
That, I
exactly.
mean, that's what it comes down to. We can't stay silent. We can't be quiet. If we see something wrong, we got to be loud and we got to demand change. And, you know, I understand, you know, at this point, you know, no, voting is not going to be the only solution. No way. You
Mhm.
know, with the way our corrupt elections are, you know, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, Donald Trump got the election stolen from him. Newsflash, our elections have been getting rigged for years, for hundreds of years, since the inception of this country, and you know, I'm sure prior to it.
Mhm.
You know, it's so but on the other end, you know, the only way we're going to get change is if enough people stand up and demand change and do something about it.
Mhm.
And I think we are coming upon a precipice where there are so many people, you know, I saw a TikTok the other day where somebody was complaining about how his rent from went from, like, you know, roughly, you know, a little over $1,000 to over $2,000 in, you know, the past few years. And, you know, that's what's happening. People are getting hit in their wallets so hard that they
Mhm.
can't survive.
Yeah.
And that, you know, that on top of finding out that their tax money that, you know, that is getting raped from people is
Mhm.
going to, you know, people who are trafficking, abusing, raping,
Mhm.
torturing children.
Mhm.
I mean, there's going to be a precipice where people are just like, this isn't going to fly anymore.
Right, there's a line, but the also the other problem is that the line can go far before it's hit. Like there's the what is it? The line in the sand, right? There's a line in the sand that's drawn, and sometimes it's either gets hit and things happen, or it gets hit, and then you make another one, and then you make
But
another
it
one.
has been getting, but that's always going to happen.
Yeah,
No
yeah.
matter if the line gets hit or not, there's always going to be a new line. There's always going to be a new bar. That's life.
Hmm.
But the fact that we are hitting as many lines as we are right now, as
Hmm.
quickly as we are,
Hmm.
is a huge, 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 huge factor, a huge indicator. And honestly, it's extremely, extremely encouraging because, you know, I never would have thought, you know, when the whole WikiLeaks thing first came out, that it
Hmm.
would have amounted to this.
Right. Yeah, that was years ago. The WikiLeaks. So, give me 1 second. My camera's a little. All right.
Sure.
There we go. Yeah, I was getting a little fuzzy, so I was like, "Oh, man, not again." you you kind of either shift wrong way or something, and it's just like, ah,
It goes out of focus.
yeah, it goes out of focus, and then you look like a stigmatism, right? It's like stigmatism. You look kind of blurry, and it's like I can't. No, but to your point about the WikiLeaks, yeah, there was a lot of things in there, especially with the. Uh, I, sorry, I do that because burp or whatever. But yeah, it was the stuff that came out during that time about that and all that stuff. And I know WikiLeaks has been out for quite a long time. To what extent, I don't know. I don't go that far down the rabbit hole. But you know, you have your people like Alex Jones or whatever who kind of are the daily prophet of what goes on. Of course, he's more he's more bigger than
I
life.
don't care for him, but I understand where you're coming from.
Hey, and that's all right too. You people get to choose who they get who they want to listen to, or maybe sometimes they listen to people out of boredom. I don't know. It's You can be very selective in who gains your time in order to hear about things, whether you believe it or not to some degree. I mean, he is a bit bombastic, but that's just who he is. Um, but yeah, it's it, for me, it's not me about being like doom or whatever, but it's to keep seeing the same repetition of not the change people want. They only complain about, and there are people who do make change. There are few, but they're very small and get unheard about, or they don't get talked about much. Like you said, you have to be the bell that kind of rings. Um, but you have to hit the right points for it to be more widespread. Like Sound of Freedom. Sound of Freedom was, sort of based on true events. Some of it was kind of flummox, but that's
Well,
the Hollywood side.
it's Hollywood. What do you know?
Yeah,
It's always going to have the.
yeah. But there was
Hmm.
a voice to it, and of course we saw with how much money it made and all that stuff that people heard it. Maybe it didn't last very long with them, but they heard it. And of course, you had the ending part with Jim Caviezel. Caviezel, yeah, Caviezel.
The
Uh,
Weasel.
Caviezel, yeah, that last name is going to be a tongue twister. But you had his speech at the end, and you couldn't help but be moved by it. Of course, the movie itself was very moving, while being exaggerated in some degrees, but there is a truth to it. And to see that it's not a more important matter, because the border stuff, right? The border stuff is in line with that importance, right? Because I've listened to Tim Ballard, who's the one who the movie was based off of. He doesn't he's not a head of it anymore. He does the Spearhead Fund, I think it is. So he's got that. But when he was in it, he wouldn't describe it, but he said there were days where there was not a time you'd want to be there, and you have to play the part in order to save a life, basically. As there are going to be people who can't save themselves, and it's not just in other countries. It's here in the U.S. I don't have those statics, but there are statics out there where it shows that even in the U.S. there are kids that are taken, and some never go home, or some never get to go home. And that was also another one of the stories he told too, about a dad in Asia and all that stuff. So yeah, it's very saddening. But if you have people still trying to ring the bell about it, you'll still have a light in the dark, basically. Um, so, and I know that's kind of a dark subject and all that stuff, but the point all around to everyone is that you have to realize is that it still goes on, whether or not you see it. There's stuff that still goes on in the dark that you're not going to see or care about, because you're all worried about your stuff. And yes, things are going high, but at the end of the day, people kind of voted that in. And yeah,
I disagree with you on that one. I don't think we really voted a lot of it in.
well, true, but there are paths to lead to. Maybe they can't see the future of things, which I can't see the future. If I did, I'd win the Powerball by now. Goodness, I'd be a billionaire already. Jeez. But the thing of it is that there's a point of where things aren't thought out well enough, and we just choose on the emotional basis rather than a more sensible, logical one. But again, human beings aren't all logical; they're more emotional, and so that's what we respond to more. Um, so yeah, that was one of the things, because you in your bio, so kind of in a way, kind of describe what, because your bio said about all that stuff, but kind of give your thing on it, because in your bio on Twitter. Sorry, on Twitter. Yeah.
Um, well, um, I was adopted as an infant by a family in New York who subsequently sold me to various individuals and entities throughout my childhood.
Okay.
And I had been to Epstein Island. I had been on multiple Lolita Express types of flights as a child.
Mm,
Um, I've witnessed instances of blackmail.
mm,
Um, I was brought to I was boated to islands off of Long Island,
Mm,
and I was experimented on in facilities.
mm.
Um, that kind of, I guess, is a good cursory rundown on a little bit about my history.
Okay. Yeah. And that's not. I imagine that's not even now. It's not an easy um thing to talk about because I'm sure, in some instance, those memories flash before your eyes on a most daily basis or however it goes. So, yeah, and you have a family as well yourself, right? Yeah,
Yes.
and I bet it does. I imagine it makes it hard sometimes because you're raising your own kid and your childhood was uh, a
Nightmare.
tumultuous nightmare, a tumultuous nightmare. It's one that just doesn't seem to end and probably doesn't very much because you're alive. And I I kind of imagine that not many who were trafficked as children survived. It's a very high possibility. There, of course, throughout the years, there have been shows. There have been, I think, movies that have kind of tried to show, but it's more of the Hollywood sort of thing, and Hollywood itself is not great in their own right. Um, but you kind of get the idea that a lot of them, regardless of the age, because there's so many varied ages, that there was abuse, there was drug abuse, there was, uh, of course, of the sexual matter, and then there was um, torment, basic torment. Like if you didn't listen, you weren't going to have a good time. Um, and basically, you were a prisoner with no hope of freedom. You know, this is just going based off of what I've seen over the years, and of course, Sound of Freedom as well, because it can be. I'd imagine can be a lot different for everyone individually. Of the ones who do or don't get out, which is sorrow in itself. Um, so, what were you like in hours? Were you rescued? Were you let go? How did that end? In essence.
Um, well, um, on the outside to any to a normal person,
Mm.
it looked like a normal situation. I had a brother. I went to Hebrew school 3 days a week.
Oh.
Sometimes I would have softball or soccer activities, stuff like that. But what wasn't known was that, there was, behind the scenes, there was a lot of abuse. At one point, I was seeing a therapist. I was not even 10 years old, and I was seeing a therapist 3 days a week,
Mm-hmm.
a psychiatrist once a month.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the way I got out was I turned 18. I moved out. Um, Things didn't work out. I ended up moving back in with my family, with my parents for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then I met my boyfriend, husband. We're technically not married, but we've been together
Okay.
for 15 years.
Wow.
Um, on a video game on World of Warcraft, actually. And I ended up moving from Long Island, America, New York to Baltimore, Maryland.
Mm.
And I'm honestly, due to my past and due to my history, I joke about it. I joke about how Scott is my emotional support human,
Mhm.
but I also joke about him, being my handler as well. And yeah, it's kind of how I cope with not knowing, because I never really would know if he is my handler or anything like that. So I don't really know that I am out. I just kind of go day by day and try and make the best decisions I can and try and do the right thing, and um try not to get sucked back in as much as I can.
Yeah, I because part of that dark world, which is the drug factor of it. Because I imagine some are hooked because that's an easy way to control small. Well, it's an easy way to control whether it be the kids or teens, which I imagine there were. Um, so drugs are used that in that way. Compliance, because that's all they want is compliance for you to do what they want you to do. Um, it, it, yeah, you're right. It's very difficult to see if and when it will, if you're out, because it can never. It almost sounds like you can never feel like you're out because you're always stuck there, right? I I'll give a visual of, I imagine it as an adult you moving about your daily life, groceries, you have a child, you take care of that, but in the background there's that smaller version of you that's in the dark corner, that's behind the brick wall looking around. There's that shadow of your child self behind you, and you can't it's not a thing of meant to go away. It's sort of like it's a reminder that you can't. I don't know if I'd say forgive, but it's a
It's
reminder.
it's more it's more that there is my child self there,
Mhm.
and there's a brick wall there keeping me from being able to hug her and hold her and comfort her and help her and I have to just sit there and watch as she has to relive it over and over and over again, and I can't actually
Oh,
do anything.
yeah, and that's the tough part because you don't memories can be a very precious thing to everyone, but they can also be a very harsh reminder of things, good and bad, obviously. Um, so yeah, that's the the slow reminder of whether you'll be out or not is whether the girl has been freed or not. And I kind of think that I'm no psychologist and I have no idea. So I'm no doctor, obviously. One second. But the
Mhm.
but I feel like there is I don't yeah, this is the thing too, and I don't want to get so no, don't I apologize if I'm bringing up some bad memories for
No,
you.
it's okay. I do that a lot.
No, it's all right.
I
It's
do that a
okay.
lot.
No, it's okay. My thought process is there's got to be a day where you kind of have to visualize yourself being able to do that, um, to kind of feel like you've reached back into the past and kind of just pick pick up and ran, and then send her off to the not in like a end of life sort of thing, but sort of send him off into the light, which isn't an easy thing because again, memories are always there. But that's kind of
Right.
the visual I get. It's like the brick wall, unfortunately, is the self, I feel, just by looking at it. And sooner or later, you just kind of have to imagine that the wall is no longer there and you can make the move you wish to make. It's not going to change anything. It's not going to change well, it's not going to change the past, but um,
Because
I,
it's not about me. It's not about what happened to me and it's not about what I relived. It's about what everybody else around me had to relive or had to live. And
yeah.
it's about how many are going through that right now.
hmm yeah, especially since especially as, of course, with the Sound of Freedom, they gave what was it? They gave like the data of like the U.S. is the biggest component. It's around the world. It's like the biggest money maker, and I believe the majority of it is mostly female. Male, I don't think too much in the male, but majority of it is mostly female in the sense of trafficking. I don't know.
Well, there were boys
Right.
that were, but it was primarily females, but also I would have been kept around primarily females. So
Yeah. That's another thing too, where you kind of just like for me, I again, all I'm taking this is based upon what I've seen over the years, sort of through a media sense, not through a real life sense. Uh, I've never. I don't feel like I've been in that position to where I've seen that kind of thing, or it could have been there and I could have just like not noticed it was because uh, a long time ago I saw they used to have stickers. There was a gas station one time I saw stickers of the on the inside of the door in the bathroom where they have like call this number if you're being
Mhm.
trafficked or whatever. I haven't seen those very often, but though they are there. Now, are you involved in any programs that kind of help for others, or do you try to, volunteer in some manner? What do you try to do?
Honestly, I have a lot of trouble socializing in general.
Yeah.
People in general scare the crap out of me. So, I kind of just do what I do online. Before everything happened, essentially my house was swatted. I was held political prisoner for a year and a half. Before all that happened, I was a lot more active. I was going out and you know I went to a couple of a couple of rallies,
Mhm,
and I was just getting more active and doing more and speaking to more people and doing interviews.
mhm,
And then everything happened, and I was locked up for a year and a half, spent another year in a residential rehabilitation program.
mhm,
Um, and then I got out, and I don't know. I guess I could say I was focusing on my mental health, trying to make sure I would be able to handle,
mhm,
continuing to go forward and continuing to talk out and,
mhm,
all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, yeah.
mhm. Yeah. So, the you said you were swatted. Are you allowed to talk about it? Is there what was the situation that sort of led up to that?
Oh boy. Oh boy. Um,
It's it's one of those
I,
moments. It's one of those moments you're like,
oh,
oh man, this is gonna be such a long story. You're gonna have to hold on for this one, okay?
yeah, yeah.
But that's okay. That's
Um,
what this is.
I went public about what happened to me at the end of October of 2017.
Hmm.
And um, I gave birth to my daughter in December of 2017. Well, when I gave birth to my daughter, a nurse came into the hospital room and told me that it was the law for all new mothers to take a drug test. So I submitted a drug test, and
Hmm.
even though the test results all came back negative, I have them. They're all
Hmm.
negative, everything.
Okay.
CPS opened up a substance exposed newborn case and told me that if I didn't stop talking, that I would never see my daughter again.
Wow.
A few months later, they medically kidnapped my daughter.
Mm.
They told me that if I didn't stop talking, I would never see her again.
Hmm.
I ended up putting together the links of what happened to me as a child
Hmm.
with CPS supplying children to the adoption and foster industries, and
Hmm.
those children, like myself, who was adopted, ending up being, you know, sold, given to a family who then sells the children to Epstein's ilk.
Hmm.
I kind of put together that, oh my God, CPS is taking all these children under fraudulent circumstances.
Hmm.
Why would they be doing this unless it was to do, like what's happened to me,
Hmm.
give them to families that are going to provide them to people for whatever purposes.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that that happens in every single foster family by any means. I would never say that. But, unfortunately, there's enough of that situation where, this needs to be looked at, this needs to be investigated.
Yeah.
So, essentially, I started talking about those links. I was very public about it. And CPS and Scott's lawyer convinced Scott to file a police report in an attempt to get me hospitalized.
Mm.
This resulted in the police coming. The CPS supervisor on the case was giving his version of things to the police,
Mhm.
and the police decided that they were going to essentially blow out every window of my house, launch tear gas through every single window of my house. And I I was arrested. I was put in jail for 4 months.
Mhm.
While I was in jail, my attorney had me evaluated for my competency to stand trial because I wouldn't stay silent. I said, put me on the stand, get me on the stand. I want to tell what is going on, put me on the stand.
Mhm.
And my attorney didn't want that. So she had me evaluated for competency to stand trial. The person who evaluated me worked from the same department as the people keeping my daughter hostage. So,
Mm.
of course, I was deemed incompetent to stand trial. I was moved to a psychiatric hospital for a little over a year. After I eventually got an attorney, and my attorney fought to get me released, and we hired my own evaluator, and it was a shit show. But,
Yeah.
but I eventually got released. And I say to this day that that whole situation of being locked up, I was held political prisoner. That was to silence me. That was to get me to stop talking. That was to stop getting the message out about what it was really going on in the foster industry.
Right.
Um, and so I was locked up for a year and a half. My release was ordered, but it was ordered that I go to a residential rehabilitation program for some time.
Mhm.
So I went to a rehabilitation program for about a year, and then Scott was comfortable with me coming home. So then I came home, and I've been here for about 2 years now.
Well, that's great that you're out. Yeah, I've heard the adoptional stuff. There was a content creator. She's an investigator journalist, but her name's Megan Fox, and she's talked about in the past. Oh, you've heard her too. So she's talked about the CPS and then the adoption, how that's sort of like moneymaker for the government and stuff. So that's why I've heard that too. Um, so yeah, I know you guys for that end. You are getting talked about to some degree. Well, not you specifically, but what is going on in that remark. Because I'm no investigative journalist. You won't you won't see me on the front lines. I just like having conversations with people. But no, that is an overstep, and I doubt I doubt they aren't too far off to put you back in again, even though that the stuff has been released to a degree. There's probably some stuff that's still censored. But I don't doubt they're not too far off, just hovering, just in case you decide to push forward, because that just shows you how power can corrupt, and there are people
Well,
who know how to
I'll,
use it.
I'll be honest. I think they're a little bit afraid to try anything right now because I currently have a lawsuit against CPS and a
Mm.
bunch of the social workers on the case, essentially
Oh.
demanding investigations
Hmm.
and accountability, transparency,
Right. Yeah.
protections for, like all this, all these changes to try and make sure this doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
So I think also they don't want to touch me with a 10-foot pole because if I get a name, I'm going to go for the throat. It's
Yeah.
it's not about me. It's about, deterring this and keeping it from happening again.
Yeah.
So, if you go after CPS, I'm like, okay, here's a settlement. There you go, and go away.
Mm.
But if you go after the social workers too and say, I don't want your money. No, I don't want your money. I want investigations and I want to make sure this is happening. This isn't happening again. I don't
Mm.
want your money.
Yeah.
Then people are like, I don't want to touch that. I don't want to go near that.
Mm.
So,
Yeah. And that because well, there was a quote. What was it like? Sunlight is the best disinfectant. Where you bring things
disinfectant.
to light. Yeah. You bring things to light, and obviously, of course, yeah, you're right. It's not just about you, but you are a key point to where this is my story, this is my story, this is my song, that sort of thing. And you're an example of like this is what can happen. I do not want that for anyone else going through it. So if you
Yeah.
have to use, yeah, if you have to use my story, that's fine. but follow
Right.
through.
Exactly.
And that's the same thing. That's the same kind of message that they had with Sound of Freedom, is like follow through. You know, the whole speech, again, the whole speech that Jim gave at the end was inspiring, because he was like, you gotta follow through with this. You've now seen it, pass it on, give it to someone else, show them, tell them, let everyone know. More voices, that the more eyes that see it, the more ears that hear it, the more it can do. Um, but I also know that human beings kind of fall back onto their routines of life, and those things that we consider to be more important kind of get lost in the wayside because everyone's got their different priority list here. And again, if it doesn't, the funniest thing I heard, not the funniest thing, but there was a thing I heard where it it isn't important to you until it affects you, right? Because there are families who have had that happen where it affects them, and they're in the same position. We're like, hey, this thing is going on. Listen here, but they're like, oh, we got our stuff to do. It was a very sad story. We all want to help and all this stuff, but I've got work and all this stuff. So until it affects you, you really won't do much about it. But like you said, you have to keep ringing the bell, the ringing the bell of the sound of freedom, that sort of thing. I know it's going to be used a lot, but that's the point that kind of shook everyone up a bit,
Mm.
because when I went to go see that movie at least 2 to 3 times, and every time I went to go see it, every time it was not a dry eye in the theater. There just wasn't. And again, yes, I know it's exaggerated, but the point of the message was is that this thing is happening, and you all are forgetting that it's happening. It's like having a thief steals from you in the night, but you keep ignoring it anyway because it's like, well, that didn't really matter, or whatever. It's not affecting me personally. It's affecting that guy down the ring. You
Right.
might as well be preventive than wait until it happens. You know,
Mhm.
the
Right.
dumbest.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, is where you're not preventive enough. But again, it's very big. It's global. It's worldwide. It's people who have more power than you'd want to have, and that's where people can feel powerless, because when you, like you've seen with the, not with in your case, but with the political side of things, like political power, where people are shut down, not listened to. And I know there are a bit of some loonies out there that aren't that shouldn't be listened to, but there are a lot of people who have issue, and the political side can be a very sharp dagger that can take you out or otherwise. And like with the J6 stuff, you know, some of those people are still political prisoners. And again, that's for me. That's why I don't have a very positive light with politics. I'd rather see it fall and burn completely. I will say this: all political identities are BS because they serve no purpose. They have no they have no fruitful end, beginning to whatever ending they want. There are no fruitacious pieces coming out of it. They are empty words. They are empty phrases. And anyone with and I'll say this: every you can, but whether it be Rasputerian or whatever, or spaghettitarian, or Republican, or libertarian, or liberal, whatever. All of those are all BS because they're all on the equal field of politics. Maybe not equal in power, but they're all equal because they're all in the same field. And I don't discern. You can have your ideas and thoughts and fruits of life, what you believe, a deservation of what, like freedoms or whatever. And that's part of the conversation I had with the gentleman yesterday. But it was more of like, uh, we gotten out. I'll give you a bit of it. Yesterday we were getting this conversation about belief in like money and stuff, and how money is really valueless because we we give it that value, right? Without us putting that belief of value in our money is pointless. You would once a huge majority of people, right, see, uh, start seeing that, well, this money has no value because we're putting a belief in it that is value, which isn't really any value at all. I know it's confusing, but that's the paradox of it, right? When you start thinking about it, it gets very uh, existential. But that was part of the discussion. So, um, but yeah, there's a lot of uh, there's a lot of brain rewriting when we're trying to get something we believe is very important out, and which your story and the story of those similar are very important, and it's very hard to get people to want to make the solution happen, because it's big, it's very big, or it's seen as big. I'm either or. I'm not too far on that. Um, but yeah, so with that in having happened, how is it for you in being a parent? Because I imagine that's just as difficult.
It is. I love being a parent. I love being a mother. Um, it's very fulfilling, very rewarding. It's other than the CPS trauma, it's better than I could have imagined. Um, you know, but because of my past,
Mm,
if I didn't have to worry about CPS,
mm,
then going through my own personal past would be significantly easier. But because now in my mind, I now have to worry about CPS constantly, over my shoulder for any decision I make.
mm,
I have to be afraid of, well, not just not just about what happened to me or what might have happened to me, but what CPS wanted to do to my daughter.
mm. Yeah,
So, for example, like bringing her to school every day it's painful. It's traumatic. It sucks because some of what happened to me happened at school. It happened through the school system. The schools knew what was going on and they were involved and, they did nothing to protect me or they did very little to protect me.
mm,
Um, I don't want Iris going through that. And it terrifies me. And then, there's of course the other stuff that's going on at schools too, the other obvious grooming stuff.
right.
But, I'm concerned about her being targeted and stuff like that as well. Um, so that's difficult. I'm very, very hyper vigilant when I'm out with her, um, stuff like that. So I like being a mother, but having my past, my history, everything like that, it's very, very difficult and
Yeah,
it's a balance, it's balancing. I have to balance everything and I will say that, you know, I hate it and I love it at the same time that if I'm like having a bad moment, if I'm crying, if I'm having, a breakdown or something, and Iris hears me and she comes downstairs, like it will stop almost immediately. She comes downstairs and it almost immediately stops and I don't know how or why, but yeah, so she's a huge support. She doesn't know it, and I don't really want her to know.
yeah,
I don't want her to know how much I have to lean on her emotionally, which sucks.
yeah,
But um yeah, she's a huge support.
yeah. That's uh, yeah, and I understand the sort of fear behind that. Not because of obviously I've not been in your position, but fear is fear no matter who you are. Pain is pain. It just varies in the degree of it. Um, and it's yeah, and it's very tough because your child has no notion of those things, and like you said, you don't want her to know because you don't want her to have those not about memories, but you don't want her to have memories of you having those memories, or episodes. I think is what you call it. Um, but uh,
Can I have
I
1 second, please?
oh no, yeah, go ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Hold on.
you're welcome. So while she goes take care of that, I'll just 1 second. So I will just promote uh while she's away, Are you
Sorry, I'm
back?
back. Go ahead.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. No, no, you're fine. I just didn't know if you were back or not, so I'll put you back. No, I was just gonna promote my channels and stuff, but no, go. Uh, I think you're trying to finish a thought, but I can't remember the thought for you.
oh no, I was just saying how I joke around about, Scott being my emotional support human, and
Mhm.
both Scott and Iris are a lot of support, and yeah.
Yeah. And that's amazing that you have that, even though you have your episodes of past stuff. I think that's probably the biggest. I don't want to say tent pole, but that's the biggest column to have in your life is to have people who love you. Well, obviously your daughter loves you, but she doesn't know. But I'm sure Scott understands to some degree, or the person you went to understands to some degree about your past. I mean, he still loves you too. Especially for me, I think it would be hard, especially if you're a female and you've gone through that, to get involved in a relationship with someone and then get intimate with that person because you're going to have those. I imagine you're going to have those episodes in your head, and you don't want to have that physicality because it's a very raw thing. And kudos for you to getting to the point where you could have a child out of that. Yeah, you're not married and all that stuff, but you're still together after such a long time. But I imagine that it wasn't an easy ordeal to have that relationship. Now, how long? I'm not gonna get very detailed because that's very personal.
It's okay.
but how long was it for you both before you became, I guess, intimate? I'll put it that way.
Um, well, I don't know if that really counts, but like, before we moved in together, we would, um, when we first got together, I did not actively remember everything that had happened from my childhood because of the
Okay.
abuse. I had suppressed a lot of memories. I had known that
Oh,
yeah, so I had a lot of repressed memories. I had known that I had, a screwed up childhood. And in in my head at the time, my problems were because I was just a troublesome child.
right.
At that point, I thought I was just a pain in the ass, and then my acting out as a child was just
Yeah.
me being a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
But come to find out, I started having I don't know exactly when it started because I had always had daydreams or just zoned out.
Yeah.
But I was having daydreams and zoning out, and then when the 2016 WikiLeaks happened, I started realizing that my daydreams were not just random daydreams and were actual flashbacks.
Right.
So we both started kind of uncovering it at the same time.
Hmm.
And when it first started, it definitely affected intimacy and stuff like that.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I definitely. Yeah. That's a the rough shot. Um.
And even now, there was a thing that I used to be told when people were coming over to visit or when I was supposed to service somebody was they would say, show them how much you love them. And
Oh.
and every once in a while, like Scott will say that to me, upstairs, and depending on the mood I'm in,
Yeah. Okay.
I'll either be into it or I'll just like either like not aggressively, but I'll just like shove him on the bed and be like, no, and walk away.
It's, yeah.
Because
And
I'll just be
that's
like, no, I'm not today.
yeah.
I'll just be like,
And
no.
that's good. You can at least have some fun out of it because again, you would think that people would that someone who's been through a situation would be like terrified, is absolutely terrified of even having that sort of intimacy because I'm sure there are stories out there that where that is the case, but uh, yeah, there was a movie a long time ago. It was called The Green Mile, I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's with Tom Hanks, Michael Clark Duncan. If you ever get the opportunity, you should have a chance to see it. But in the movie, there is a sort of it's kind of it's hard to because it's a memory that sort of because there's a supernatural thing to the movie, um, but in it the main character Tom Hanks plays, through a certain character he's shown these memories of another prisoner that have he did this wrong, and there was a line, there was a story showing this gentleman had done like some, it's like the 1950s or whatever, so you know how that time period was. He sort of came to the family. He was like, I needed some work or whatever, and he did some work like painting stuff, but he wasn't all good. And so at a certain point, he went to take the sisters to do something wrong. The movie never delves deep into it, but they give us an appliance. Um, but anyway, he was sort of at a certain point during that memory, he tells, if don't tell on your sister and nothing will happen to her, and then tells the other sister nothing will happen to you. And the memory sort of kind of goes away from there. But the gentleman who shows in the memory is like he killed them with their love. That's how it goes all over the world. Is he killed them with their love. And after hearing that, it sort of sounded similar to that, where they were just using what a child, you know to some degree knows what love is, or is perceived as. They use that against you, a perception,
Right.
and it can be very, very devastating for later on, especially when you obviously get in a relationship with someone and those episodes appear, or you kind of joke about it either in a dark sense or a light sense like you just did. So because if you can't joke about it a bit, it can make for a very rough
It can
life.
consume you. It can
Yeah,
consume you.
it's the monster. It's almost like the monster that never goes away. Um,
Yeah.
or yeah, so yeah, like I know I'm very light skimmed on this stuff. I am nobody on this remark, but
Mm.
I am very thankful that you are at least willing to share, because I've not had someone of that manner, but I'm not against even not wanting to share that, because that's my ultimate goal, is to have conversations about almost whatever, because YouTube has their thing, and we all know what they like to do for people who do on the wrong side of things, and then or protect, um, but for me, there's a difficultiness to it, because there may be things I hear that I don't like or whatever. But the point of the matter is that it's not about me personally. Yes, it's my channel. Yes, it's my channel name. I get to hear you. I get to see you. Well, maybe not see you. Sometimes people just not camera, but I get to see you to some degree. Not like your boyfriend does, but to get to see you, to to shine the light of the prism on the specified area of your story. And whether something or not comes out of it, I don't know. Maybe more people hear it, maybe not. But I don't think it should be a whisper in the dark. It's not something I want to do. And whether there are other stories like that I come across or not, it doesn't matter. People's lives have a difference to some degree. They have something they like to talk about, or they don't get to. And I want to provide uh, I guess, an opportunity to do that. And I'm not against coming on here with you again at all, because obviously you're an amazing person and you have your past, and that can come back on again. But that doesn't, to me, that doesn't matter to the sense of having you on again and just chatting with you, because you're a human being. I'm a human being. We
Are
got
you
two
sure about that?
Well, I mean, if you kind of toot a lot, I don't know if that means you're human still, but that just means I might have some good colon. I don't know. But that's my point. That's why I do this. I I ultimately would like to talk to people who, on all the scales, right? Like I know there are people out there who'd rather just work their way up to the top of the ladder than not go down at all. But I don't really care. I mean, as long as you're willing to be respectful and civil, that's all I care about. And then I could hear you very well. Um, but I want to have those conversations. I want to have almost any conversation. because how many how many is it that people, like you or me, they don't, or like, sorry, trying to describe it and a thousand things go through my head and I'm trying to pick one. How is it that someone like you and me, and I'm not famous at all, come across to you, I say, would you like to come on just to have a conversation, and you take the plunge to say yes? I think it's been somewhat, I try to make it somewhat fun because dark isn't always fun all the time. But it's a necessity because it's part of humanity, unfortunately. I mean, Rome wasn't clean. People, the whole thing about, what do you think about Rome or whatever? I'm like, what? The only thing I think about is how Julius Caesar got stabbed like 23 times and nothing was done about it. I mean, man, you don't see that anymore. You won't either. But yeah, I enjoy it, and I want to keep having more. It's just people, I can't force people to do it. I have to wait for their agreement to do it, and which you did, and it's been amazing. Um, and so it is a bit of an hour. So I don't know if you are okay to continue more. I don't know if you have to go do something. So are you okay to go a little longer? Do you need to go? What would you
Um,
what's your thought?
I can probably go for a little bit longer, yes.
Okay, we'll go for a little while. So right now I'm gonna I don't know if you want to promote anything. So if not, that's fine. I'm gonna, yeah, I know you probably only have your Twitter or whatever, so that's fine. If you don't, that's fine. So I'm gonna promote, right now at the bottom left. You've probably been seeing that little bar go along. That's been where to go to. So I'll say it's like, I'm on YouTube and Rumble under the same name. I have a fan account. Oh, sorry, I have a fan account. Uh, on Twitter X that is Veramous, VERAMOUTHE, on Twitter X. And the reason I have a fan account is because my actual account was suspended with no reason given on Twitter X. Yep. So I think it was either a Monday morning or Tuesday morning, uh, and I was at work, but I was at work and I decided to check it. And I saw this thing that says you've been suspended. Da da da. Here for appeal. I was like, what did I do though?
But of
Because
course, they didn't even tell you what they suspended you for. I
nope.
had the
So,
same thing happen.
so I went to do this appeal and I did a little because they let you write a little note. I was like, I don't know what happened. What is the rule I broke? All this stuff. I think it was maybe a couple hours after that. Got the email. It said, we reserve the right to, and that was it. And I was like, that's not an answer though. There's no answer why. So I did it again. I've done it. I think I'm up to 7 or 8 now, and I'm getting the same generic answer. And I'm like, I know you reserve the right, but at least tell me, and tell me why I got,
Right.
well, tell me why I got suspended. But so I've kind of put in a connection failsafe sort of thing.
To be
But
honest, at this point in their system, they may not even know.
yeah, which is the funny thing. It's like, do you even care anymore? Oh, you only care about getting more people on and monetization, which
Mm,
once they got monetized, that threw everything for the loop. You'd see people post
hmm.
asking questions about would you do this or would you do that? And I'm just like, this isn't a conversation. This is just, I mean, social media isn't really much for conversation anyway, other than this sort of thing, which is great. It's just like, okay. Well, then a fan account appeared, and so uh have had help with that. Um, So, but I'll never. I was close to 500 too, which is the beginning stages for the monetization thing. It was probably mostly,
Oh,
yeah, yeah, it was probably just mostly just bots because you know how the OFers and all that stuff on there just. I'm just like, look, if they're not gonna do anything about it, I'll just use them for my benefit. So, but yeah, it didn't turn out that way. So it is what it is. But those are the places you can find me. Like with Miss Jennifer here, if you want to have a conversation with me, I'm not here for debates. I'm not here for arguments. We can have disagreements. That's totally fine. But I'm not here for those two things. That's not what this is about. This is about having a conversation about whatever, whatever we want to, almost whatever we want to, because TOS stuff. But if you do, just leave a leave a comment at any of those places, or go DM me at Twitter X, um, and especially on YouTube and Rumble, if you wouldn't mind leaving a like, comment, follow, whatever, just to see more of this stuff. And again, I open the door to almost everyone. Troll people, people who don't really want a conversation, just want to do a negative thing. No, you can stay over there. People who want to have a conversation, I open the door to you, big or small, doesn't matter. That's what this is for. Look at this lady right here. She's small. If she were to, if the camera were to like zoom out a bit, she'd probably be smaller. So but anyway, but that's the point, because I've I just feel like everyone has something to say to some degree, and whether I agree with you or not, that's not the point. I get to talk to you, you get to talk to me. That's the point. That's the point. So I don't know if you're enjoying it or not, but that's what I do it for. So, but yeah. So we'll go on a little longer. That was my spiel. I know people say they shill, but I don't like shill is such a negative connotation. It's sort of like I'm just promoting my stuff. Follow me or not, up to you. But I get to talk to people like this. Why not? Why not? That's a story worth hearing right there. I don't know if I could go for the lottery at that point, but it's a story worth hearing. Darn it! No, I used to do those scratch offs too, because you can buy cheap ones for like $1. Uh,
Mhm.
it got bad for a time, so I'm glad
Hmm.
I'm off it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was like at a certain point I was buying like I think I only got up to like $5, but there was like more ones and twos and then fives, and I lost more money than I spent. So that's what they are, is just lose more money than you spent. Than gain, sorry. Um, but it was kind of nice. It was like that betting casino feeling, which I've always have a fear of going to casinos. Like I don't, I should just bring the ever amount of whatever bill I'm bringing, and that should be it. I not bring my wallet. Don't bring debit card. None of that, because it can suck you in. It'll be hard to get you out. Oof, addiction in its own right is. Ugh, ooh. So, so what do you have a hobby for yourself? Do you do a thing for yourself that uh, like a distraction, or just as a remedial? I think it is remedial effect.
Um, well, my hobby consists of politics, exposing corruption.
No, I
Um,
understand.
I tend to keep World of Warcraft on in the background if I need to just take a break and, give my brain a break. But other than that, I usually have some kind of political podcast or stream going. I like to joke that it's from, the moment I wake up, and I have it going as I fall asleep at night. So, yeah, it's I've always had a passion for politics. I've always loved it, and um that's pretty much my hobby at this point. That's
Which
pretty
is
much all I do. I
oh,
have a little bit of an apothecary where, excuse me, where I make herbal medicine.
oh nice,
Um, so I have salves, lotions, balms, tinctures,
nice.
stuff like that. But no, I don't, other than, just trying to remember everything and trying to expose as much as I can. I don't really have any hobbies.
Oh well, I mean, to some people, politics is a hobby, but it can be like day trading in stocks. It's at a certain point, it just very suck you in. What I don't I personally don't consider myself on any level of basis. I'm no Democrat, Republican. Maybe I would consider it independent, but I don't even like that because that's just another tag. I am a person who doesn't care about politics, but I'll listen. So, what would you consider yourself as in that field?
Independent.
Oh, is it, independent? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
I don't want to be affiliated with any party. It's, if I have to in order to vote because I'm in a closed primary state, I will do so
Understandable.
with much displeasure.
It's like having that little prick on the back of your, someone poking you with a pencil in your back and just like, eh, leave me alone.
Uh, I have to pick one. Ew.
Well, and like I said earlier, for me, that's why I consider this my, for this presidential stuff, this will be my last, because I see no reason. I mean, I don't want my vote being used for anything else. I hope there's a way for that to happen. But I feel and see that it doesn't really make much matter after a certain point. I don't. If I want change, I'm going to go motivate to make it, not depend on someone else. I mean, community wise, to depend on others, that's fine. But I'm not going to depend on one person to change it, because it's not going to happen with a big conglomeration. Because that's what any government is. It's just a common conglomeration of human beings who have a superiority complex, and they were given that by other people. How funny is that? The irony of it is there are this group of people given a superiority complex by other people. On the basic level, that's what it is.
But the superiority complex that they're given is not necessarily by the everyday people. It's by the other people that they are grown up with, that they are raised with, that teaches them that, you have to do this, you have to carry on my legacy and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. That's a big aspect of it too. Normal everyday people just want to live our lives in peace and be left alone and not be bothered
Mhm.
and not have to worry about somebody coming in and interfere with how we want to live our lives.
Mhm.
Normal everyday people don't want to run for politics. They want nothing to do with it. They just want to live their life and that's that. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, politics has become a situation where if you want power, you run for politics.
Or you have a lot of money. Um, but yeah, no, you're not wrong in that aspect. I just don't see any point anymore for that aspect. I really detest it, because I mean, well, when I was first beginning out, my dad would be like, "You go and vote, go and vote." I'm like, "Well, what's the point?" I don't feel like it. I don't care about it. There's not a, yeah, if I don't vote, yes. Well, I can't influence the rules and laws that will come after it, blah blah blah. But then again, I could just be outvoted and outdrowned by whatever. The point of the
Well,
situation.
in regards to voting, don't make any commitments on whether you're going to not vote or not. See how things go in this election. See who's running next election. Who knows? Maybe we'll find somebody who's worth a damn that will actually do something. But I'm not going to hold my breath for that.
But that's
But
that's yeah, but that's the point I make is, well, no, I get that, like, you want to be very flexible, whatever. That's the stance I'm taking personally, is that after this year
no,
there
I
will.
get it. I get it.
I just don't see it. I don't see it. I hear too many people complain about it, not do anything about it. Maybe they try to do something about it, but it's very small scale. My presupposition, I don't know the word, is that if people really want change, they will all go up to the place they call Capitol Hill, and they will protest peacefully, and they will not do anything else until something changes, because that's what it's going to take. Back in the day, they used to tar and feather, politicians to a degree. I see why that can't come back.
What was that term? I believe it was the term ostracism that
Os-
initially came. I believe so.
Being
I don't remember if
ostracized,
to
ostracism,
ostracize somebody.
yeah,
Um,
or
if I
exile.
recall, or perhaps it was exile
Hmm.
that at least one of the ancient cultures used to do that. They would vote on their politicians, and whoever was the lowest voting person, the least amount of votes,
Hmm.
was essentially sent into exile and told that they had to leave and they weren't allowed to come back.
Hey, I'm all for that. I don't know why they can't be done on a small scale, but I can see where it can be uh, misused. Obviously,
Yeah.
you can
Just like
give
with everything else.
yeah, you can give a bunch of people 10 commandments, but they'll find a way to screw that all out of the water very heavily.
Yeah,
But the point for me, from my perspective, is just like, I get majority of it is from social media, so I know that's not a representation of the world, but it gets very tiring and very saddening when the real answer is get up, get walking, go to the place you complain about at, get that megaphone out and do it peacefully, and don't stop until they do something, because they're not going to stop.
right.
And it's like there was you know who Bob Marley is, right? Or you've heard of him.
Yes.
So there was a thing where he was going to a concert and he was shot. He was shot and he had to go to the hospital. Obviously, he survived that. But then I think it was after a few hours, or he, he got better or whatever, and he went back. And someone asked him, why'd you go? But you just got shot. Why would you go back? And he said, the darkness doesn't take rest. So why should I? I mean, it's not exactly what he said, but in that phrasing. And that's the same thing Americans, or those who consider themselves Americans, should think, is like, this corruption is not going to end. And why should I? Why should I just stop? I know you got to provide for your family. You got to do all these things. But at the end of the day, they're going to use that on you to not do anything about it.
Right.
And for me, I mean, I'm just one person, and you guys could all give a crap about me, but at the end of the day, that's my personal stance on it. And
But you
while the
are doing something about it by having these conversations with people.
That's right, that lady gets it already. Gold star, gold star. There you go. I don't Probably won't mean much, but gold star, very very bright. Um, very bright. She's brighter than I am. No, I'm just joking. Well, with that light.
Depends on the frequencies we're looking at.
Okay, I'll let you have that one. All right. Well, I was just gonna say, with that light behind your head, it's kind of bright too. So,
Oh, yeah, sorry. It's either that one back there or one that is literally right above my head, and it's
yeah,
it's the worst. So
it's okay.
sorry.
No, it's all right. I was just like, wow, she is getting really holy over there. Come on, calm it down. So, but no, you're that again. Uh, that's why I try. It's not again. It's not for any other reason than just to have a conversation, because I would think you'd be surprised of what you could get along with, what you could disagree with, and you kind of have to have stipulations, right? You kind of like, don't be like this, don't do this. At least have a little respect for it, and all that stuff, like earlier. But I so far, there's probably only been one person that's kind of like, not sure how, not like anything mean or anything. It was just like they really didn't want to give to the conversation, or they really weren't sure how it was going to go or whatever, which I can understand. But so far, I feel like it's been quite a success. And of course, most of the people I'm getting are from Twitter X and all any interaction from that. But it's all I've got right now. I don't have enough. I don't feel like I have enough credibility where someone will say, I want to go on that and talk to that person. It's just not there yet.
The way you
One
get
day.
there is by reaching out to people, extending your circle, and showing them that you do have enough credibility.
Yeah, that's that one step at a time. It's like that TV show, Step by Step.
Yeah.
that's a, that's an old TV show. Like Family Matters. Oh my gosh. Only thing was that it became a Steve Urkel show after a while, which was kind of sad. So, and I was like, oh look, there's this weird dude making stuff. Oh, it's only about him. Never mind. All right, forget. So, but yeah, no, it's a pretty fun time. I think we had a good time, even though there's some dark parts to it that needed to be heard. We had some good times, and if I'm able to make at least you laugh something, then I think I've done something right. All right, that's what
Everything in balance.
everything, nothing in excess, everything in balance. Although that'd be nice for people who drink too much, or people who say they can moderate themselves. Some people can't moderate. So, but yeah, there for the hobby thing, right? When I asked you for yours, what I've done for myself is um it's more of a recent thing, but a while ago I started doing precious stones and rock stuff, right? And I'll show you one. So there's a store about an hour or so away from me that I go to, but you can buy small stuff or big stuff. And this right here is obsidian.
Oh.
Yeah, but this is if you can see that silveriness in it. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
right there. That's
Yeah.
this is obsidian with midnight lace, is what it's called.
Oh, cool.
Yes,
Oh,
it's a
let
very
me
big.
see. I don't. I normally have an amethyst over here, but I think my daughter stole it.
That's all right. Um, and I've done a bunch of other ones too. Now this is only one of three. The place I go to, you can buy these big rocks, and they cost a certain amount per pound. One second.
I think you're muted. I can't hear you.
Sorry, I thought I had pressed
Yeah.
it. So anyway, the what I was saying was the place I go to, they sell a bunch of different types of rocks. There's other obsidian, others that like that, for a certain price per pound. So I bought a rose quartz,
Mm.
and yes, and very lovely. And then I have something that's called banded hematite, which is just another form of iron.
Interesting.
Yes. I've also there's another place that's not too far from that one, that sells a whole different collection of stuff. Um, I recently, oh, actually, uh, one second. Give me one. Okay, so these aren't precious rocks, but the place I bought these from, they're called magnetic zingers. And
Oh,
so the reason is you kind of keep them separate, and then they make a sound like, yep. I don't know if you could hear that or not, but that's what
no.
they. Oh, that's fine. I I didn't know if it would hear it or not, but that was from the same place. I've bought peacock ore. I've done. They have a little back area where you can sift, like they give you a bucket of sand, or you buy a bucket of sand and you kind of sift.
Oh,
Yes. And I've gotten a bunch of different quartz. Not uh, rose, but I've been also been tumbling stones too. So my first batch that I tumbled didn't really go well, because it was I used the kit stuff first, but I've been watching YouTube
okay.
videos on that. Yeah, so I've bought my own stuff. Um, but now there's one stone I really like, and I'm trying to get a good tumble on. It's labradorite. And if you know what labradorite is, yes. Oh, yes. So I really like the look of labradorite. Now there's a similar one, but it's more of a fossil. I think it's ammonite or something like that. And it's like a
Ammonite.
ammonite, yes. So it has that circular look and it has that rainbow color effect, and it's worth thousands upon thousands of dollars. But for me, labradorite is sort of in that same field, but it just has that pop of blue or a rainbowish color in some certain areas. And I bought like two hand size ones, and I'm tumbling one of them now with a bunch of smaller labradorites. Um, I've bought a few. They had like a junk stone container that had a few stones I bought, like one that's like a crumbly pyrite. Now there was one I bought, and it was chrysolite, chrysolite with serpentine, and
Okay.
yes, and have an app on my phone that allows you to identify. Sometimes it gets it right, sometimes not. But when it saw that, I saw that, and I went to identify it, and I was like, ooh, because the shredded part of that is basically asbestos. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah, so it's like sometimes they sell stones that they don't understand that there's maybe a small danger to it, so they might want to
I
be
think that's
careful.
what tiger's eye is too. I think tiger's eye is technically asbestos.
I don't know for sure. It's just this stuff could come off, right? With tiger's eye, it's all clumped together, but with this stuff, it was like a
Right,
soft.
right.
and if you accidentally inhale it, it's not a good time, which I didn't, by the way. But it's stuff like that where I think they kind of forget there are some stones that you shouldn't really, you should be very careful with. And I think they kind of just to sell something, which I'm all right with, but precaution, right? Because you have
Right.
kids and stuff. I bought a little small emerald one, which is my birthstone. Um, and I've bought
When's your
yeah,
birthday?
I don't. I will give it to you in the DMs. I don't want to say.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'm
I
guess
was born I'm Emerald too, so I'm just curious. I'm born on May 5th.
okay. Yeah, I'll tell you in your DMs.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, because I don't want
Fair
to.
enough.
Because yeah. So but I also but there's a place near where I am in a mall where there's like a hippie store, and they sort of have a small area where they sell stone. Look, I bought a clump of magnesium from them, which is really cool. I'd get them all and show them, but it's kind of like over there. So yeah, that's part of my hobby. Now, a long time ago, well, a long while ago, probably a couple years ago, I used to do just this weird free form of poetry. Uh, and yeah, I'll try to find an example. But I just did it because it was just something that just worked for me. And sometimes it rhymes, sometimes it doesn't. Which is the funny thing about words. They can be anything you want them to be, even though they're definitions for some. Because I think I saw in the reply for what you had retweeted about the picture for the video, the lighthouse. Uh, yeah, that's an AI uh, generated thing, but I have another one that's sort of similar. I kind of like the dystopian darkness because it's a reminder of even if there's a storm going on, there's a lighthouse with a light, and that's what they were for during those times was to guide in those desperate moments of lost and destruction going on and chaos and all that stuff. I'm trying to find one that would be good. I know you probably don't want to hear one, but um, just because I haven't done one in a long time. Um, and I have so many. I think it's yeah. I have a little over 600 of some
Oh
complete and some not.
wow.
Yeah, some complete, some not complete. I'm gonna try to find uh, King. Ah, yes. So I have a shirt of this, and I actually there was a coworker who makes shirts, designs and stuff and all that, and there was a poem of mine that I wanted to put on a shirt. So the title's on the front, and then the poem itself is back. So it's the poem itself is called King Victorious, and when I created it, it was just about rhyming the words and stuff. When I look at it, it's like even though I made it out of nothing and I didn't really have any intention into it, kind of feels like that. So it goes King Victorious. Um, I am the King Victorious. The jurors can plainly see, as this crown sits on my head with shining jewels of glee. I don't doubt this directive course, as you can plainly see, for I am the King Victorious, and you have become no voice to me. And so it's just rhyming at that point. But when you kind of go over it, it sounds like a very prideful thing, right? Like, I'm the King Victorious. I've set myself up to call myself that. So yeah, I know that was nothing, um, but
I like
yeah,
it though. It was good.
there was a long time ago on Facebook. There was a lady who there was a lighthouse one. I'll leave it for another time, but there was a lighthouse one that she liked, and she wanted permission to hang it up in her office. I was like, yeah, sure. I'm not gonna get any royalties out of that. So, but I have long deleted my Facebook, so I'm not coming back for it. Um, but yeah, so that was sort of another new. It's not that I couldn't do it again. It's just it's like one of those things. Like I did have a muse a long time ago, uh, maybe a faux muse. It was just a feeling towards someone, and they were in a life of their own. And so things didn't kind of go well, and she kind of pushed me out of her life. But I don't think I was that great of a person either. But I was young then too, like in my mid 20s, so like I know things. Okay, um, but yeah, no, you're all right. But yeah, I have those things, and I really do like either or because there's different forms of like sonnets, uh, haikus or whatever, and I just like this, and it rhymes, and that's it. That's all that matters to me. That's it. It's
It
easy.
works. If
Yeah, it works. It works, and I'm just like, ugh. Not all of it rhymes. Don't get me wrong. Not all of it rhymes, but it's just a form of getting this out there, but in a way that just it can be either cryptic, it can be either straightforward, it can be a monumental museum of just whatever you want it to be. There was there was one there was one I made that was the title was uh I'm just trying to look up what the title. I can't remember the title. It was as oh it the title of it is called My Colorful Lyric. So this will be the last one I read, but I just want you to listen. I want you to think about what am I trying to say, and I'll give you the answer after you sit here. So it's called My Colorful Lyric. Just sitting here, dropping resumes left and right, but don't have much paper, but I'll make it through the night. This bowl of extremity, clearing the way, flushing out the murky ire that comes every day, constricting, restricted, held back anticipation, only to release a gaseous explanation. I fought the good fight, don't want to overload, clearing the streets, a classic yet to explode. So this one did have intent, but I just want to know what you think I'm trying to say out of that, and I'll tell you
I'm
the
not sure.
answer. I want to be trying to be as respectful as possible. I don't want to. It's basically it's basically me rhyming about taking a number two,
Really? I
dropping res-
caught the bowl. I caught the paper in the bowl, and I was initially thinking as like, is that like a pot reference or something? But no, no, that works too.
well, there's dropping resumes, which I know has been used as that, and then gaseous, and then constricted,
Oh,
restricted, and I was just like,
that's funny.
I was so proud of myself after that. I was like, I just made something about talking about taking a number two in the most elegant way possible, and I called it a colorful lyric.
That's funny.
I just, I was like, I feel good about myself. I really do. But like you said, you couldn't know fully right away until you were told. And I was like, well, yeah, I liked making it a bit cryptic, but I gave you enough clues to figure it out. So there's stuff like that. That one was with intent, and there's some without intent, like King Victorious. But um, that was something I did a long time ago. I haven't really done much of it anymore because there's always something different I want to do. But I do like doing it. And if I did it again, it will just be within that manner of rhyming. So, but that's just me. Those are the hobby bits of myself. And you said, what stones do you have? Because I know you said amethyst. Um,
Better question is what stones don't I have?
oh dear Lord, please name some. I want to hear some names.
Uh, honey, are you down here? No, I won't. Can you give us a list? Can you come in and give us a list of some of the stones we have because that's your forte?
Oh, so it's not.
He said the list of stones we don't have might be a shorter list.
So is it more of his thing or your thing?
Both of us.
Really?
He is very strong. Like my forte is herbs and stuff, but I
Okay.
love crystals. Like right now, I have this one to that I'm just kind of like fiddling with.
Hmm.
I don't remember what stone it is,
Hmm.
but yeah, I love crystals. I've loved crystals ever since I was a little child. But he is much better at identifying me. I'm like, oh, pretty.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, this from there, and then all that. So
That's me too. That's why I have an app on my phone to help me with that. Um, yeah. Don't. Yeah.
he's my app.
Yeah. Ding. It's a mica. And that's why I have a
Yeah, right.
yeah. I have I forgot. I have muscovite too, which is very flaky and very um.
Okay.
Yeah. It's very bundled together, but it's very flaky and it will just like flake off in your hands. So, but I got a goldish color to it. Um.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I'd like to be able to go out to places where you can dig them up yourself, but it's very difficult to know where. I think one of my favorites is quartz itself because there's a wide variety of what it can be used for, or it's used in a lot of different things.
Right.
But for me, my favorite is labradorite, just because of the explosion of color you can get from it if you get it just right. Um, and I'm hoping my stones I'm tumbling, the labradorite, will show that. I again, my first batch didn't go so well, and they all ended up dull and whatever. But hopefully this time I'm getting it right. So um,
I my favorite is Larimar.
Larimar, I'll have to look that up. I know a lot. I have fire quartz or Ferungus quartz. I have fuchsite. I have fuchsite, apatite. Trying to think, aventurine. Uh, like I said, peacock or um, lapis lazuli. I have some lapis
Yes.
lazuli. That was one. I had two of them, and I tumbled one, and that was the first batch. Trying to
Actually,
think.
hold on. Let me see if I can pull this off. I have a selenite
Ooh, me too.
pendulum over here. Let me
Yeah,
see. The point is broken, but
that's
yeah.
fine. I have a bunch of um, I have a bunch of selenite too, or as they call it, TV gypsum. I know the people more look at it as like a metaphysical healing thing or whatever. That's not why I do it. I don't really care about that stuff. For me, it's just sort of like you like, ooh, pretty rock, and then learning about the name. Um, and there are some you can have to be careful of, but if you treat it with respect, you'll be fine. Um, I got a bunch of green jasper, a bunch of just regular serpentine. Amethyst is a big one, which seems to be the weird thing where it's just a lot of it is like the dirt, the sand thing I was talking about, where you could sift through it. A lot of amethyst. Um, I got a piece of aragonite, which is beautiful
Nice.
because it almost seems like it's a very explosive, outward explosive sort of. It's like an exploding rock, you know. Um, I'm trying to think. I got a bunch of obsidian, like Apache tears, and then
Yes.
yeah, Apache tears. That's the form of it. I got a huge chunk of black tourmaline. It was
Okay.
like a gift surprise bag where you pay a certain amount for it, and it's like a mystery bag, whatever. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I've got so much. I just bought a small chunk of azurite, and
Okay.
then I bought a small chunk of malachite, and malachite is so expensive, so expensive
Yeah.
that yeah, even trying to get those green polished ones are just like no, it's too
I'm
much.
gonna see if I can pull up a picture of Larimar for you.
No more. Yeah, I feel like I've heard of it, but I don't know. I don't know what it looks like.
Larimar is a blue stone with like black and white marbling. Let me see if I can
Hmm.
get a good
I know
picture of the
sodalite.
raw Larimar.
I know sodalite sounds similar, where it has blue in it and it's kind of got like white around it. I've got some sodalite. Ooh, wow, that is pretty. Ooh.
It is said to come from the ancient civilization that's been destroyed of Lemuria,
Hmm.
and which is also believed to be another version of Atlantis. So
Oh,
it's said that the Larimar has like metaphysical abilities because it was used to channel some of the energy that the ancient Atlanteans used or whatever. So yeah, I just get a kick out of Larimar.
yeah. Oh, that's right. I also have a chunk of smoky quartz. Uh,
Yes.
Big chunk of it. That's pretty nice. Um, Dude, I have a bunch of agate of polished agate. It came with a thing.
I don't know if you'd be interested. There's this cute little, it's called Declan's Mining. And they literally send you like 1 gallon buckets full of sand and confetti sand, which has tiny stones in it. And then they'll send you like raw crystals or polished crystals. You can order
Declan.
like towers and shapes and all that kind of stuff as well in it.
Uh
And you
huh.
can get it with a sifter and you can sift it. And it's a lot of fun. I got it for my daughter for her birthday.
Aw, what was it called again?
Declan's Mining Company. I think it's Declans.
Company. Okay, I'm looking it up
Yes,
now. Just to...
Declan's Mining Company.
That's it. Crystal mining bags and buckets for kids. Okay, I see where. Oh, it's mostly for. Okay, I see, which is mostly for kid stuff, but some of it can be used for rock tumbling. I will definitely save that for later. Thank you for that.
It depends. It might be big enough for rock tumbling. They do seem a bit small, so
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they're good enough for rock tumbling.
Well, the thing I had to learn about rock tumbling is that you can't just put random rocks in the same bucket and tumble them. So that was my first batch. So now I just have,
Oh,
yeah. So now I just have all labradorite just tumbling together, especially the big chunk. Because the first one I did had some, I think it had some citrine in it, uh, a the green jasper, an Apache tear, a small piece of uh, black tourmaline. Oh, that's right. I have garnet too. I have a piece of garnet as
oh,
well.
nice.
Yes, and that was a funny thing because it really does look like a jewel piece by its just a look of it. Um, I have sodalite, the lapis lazuli I had in there. Uh, Whoa, one second. Oh goodness. Okay, so this is
Oh,
my bag.
wow.
So this is the bag of first tumbling, which they're all dull, and I probably would have to buff them out with something. So let's see if I can rename them. So this is a piece of labradorite.
Okay.
You can see, but yeah, you can see how
Yeah,
dull.
I see the sheen now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very dull and stuff. That lessons learned. This is a piece of sodalite. You can see that. This I'm not sure of, but I think it's a piece of obsidian. I'm not sure. It's very dull, so you're not gonna be able to tell, unfortunately. Um, this I'm not sure of. There were a few rocks that were a bit magnetized that I had pulled up from the river because I've gone magnet fishing if you've ever heard of it. And so this is probably one of them. So I don't know what they would be calling that. Um, oh, this is tiger's eye right there,
Yes.
and you can see it's very dull, but lessons learned. Um, this is the other one that's a bit magnetized. Um, This is the black tourmaline. It didn't really turn out very well. It's very faded and dull. They were all in the same tumbler together, so yeah. Uh, this one I can't remember what it is, but
Hmm.
it came with the kit, the box of the kit. So it's one of the stuff.
Okay.
Now in it, there's some golding in it. I tried to tumble pyrite with everything else, not tum not tumbled. You can't tumble that. So I learned my lesson the hard way. Everything has a bit of gold speck to it, so it's like, all right, guess that's something.
That's cool.
Yeah. Um. This, I believe, is a piece of obsidian. I just can't remember from what aspect. So, yeah, it's been a while. Now, this one is aventurine right there.
Okay.
The minty green aventurine. Let's see. I'm almost done. This is a piece of green jasper. Badly tumbled, I know. Um, oh, and this is the one. Now, I bought this. This was a chunk, so I had the edges and stuff. But yeah, this is lapis lazuli. I
Oh,
love
okay.
when they're. If this was still, black form and very polished, the blue would just pop, and that's what I like about lapis lazuli. Is it has that blue that just pops. Um. Oh, here's another piece of labradorite, a lovely stone. I love it. Only a few more left. I believe this was the Apache tier. Smooth, but
Okay.
not pretty. Um, and then this is just another piece of labradorite, but it was a chunk off or something like that. I don't know. And then last but not least is this one, but I'm not sure what it is. I think it's apatite. I think this one is apatite.
Okay.
I might be wrong. So anyway, those are the ones for my first batch, minus the pirate ones because those they still had something, but they were quite diminished. So, but yeah, so I had lessons learned. I'm just doing with the same kind of rock or same kind of moz, which is the durability sort of thing. So that's how I'm doing it from now. But yeah, it was kind of frustrating when they all turned out like, and I kind of rushed it a bit. Like I'm trying to give it a little longer, and all that. So, but it's a lesson learned. But anyway, so we have gone for over. I know it's mostly just because of me showing off. So I'm trying not to be that awesome. So, but anyway, we've gone for an hour 45, and I think we'll end it on this note. Even though there's some kind of darkness to it, it still need to be said. So I want to thank everyone who came to watch, even if it wasn't a whole lot. There's gonna be replays, so it doesn't matter. So I thank you and I appreciate you. I especially thank Miss Jen over here for sharing her story, because I imagine even trying to share it is not an easy thing, and I don't take that. I personally don't take that lightly. So don't think I just like using you for content, whatever. I'm not for the conversation. Um, and like I said earlier, Rumble, YouTube, Daramuth. That's that's the same username on either end. Veramuth on Twitter X, a fan account, and you can see on the bottom how it's spelled. So, or go back and replay and watch. Um, and that's where you'll find me. Again, if you're not a troll, if you're someone who's looking to have a genuine conversation, the door is open. I have the door open, and with Jennifer, who I've met probably probably just like a few days ago, it's possible, and I want to make it possible for others. So if you want a chance, DM me, leave a comment, whichever. I'm open. Let's have the conversation. So thank you again, Miss Jennifer. I hope we can have this
Thank you for
again soon.
having me.
Oh, I love that. I hope we get to have it again sometime. Because you're just lovely in your own right. So, and plus rocks, like now I have a huge hankering for rocks. So, anyway, all right, everyone. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate you all, and have a wonderful evening. Oh, also tomorrow at 5 or 6 p.m., I will have a Canadian on, a gentleman Canadian. His name is Nova. Yes, I know I got three in a row. That's awesome for me because it's hard. So, but anyway, see you tomorrow. I'll put the date and time out. Till next time. Bye, guys.